is there enough accountability in our judiciary? And what will it take to restore public confidence in the judiciary? So is there enough accountability, and what will it take to restore public confidence in judiciary? Gopal Shankar Narayanan, wherever we stand on Justice Verma's case, and it would be unfair to presume guilt at this stage, innocent till proven guilty, but there is a lack of public confidence in judiciary. How do you restore it? And do you believe there is enough accountability in the system already?
Rajdeep, I think a lot of it has to do with how far we have come. I think we started off with a very strong executive-oriented appointment process and very little transparency at that stage. We moved to what I believe was a better system than a pure executive system, which was the collegium system, which has slowly taken baby steps toward certain amount of transparency. Now, there has been criticism both ways, I'll be honest, where judges have not been considered for judgeship, or they have not been considered to be brought to the Supreme Court, or they've been considered to be transferred, and you put the minutes of those collegium meetings up online. It has made a dent as far as those judges are concerned. So sometimes there is a question, should you have been that transparent about that? When you select, there is also transparency, but perhaps some parameters which may not be overly relevant, like a minority community person or a person with a particular gender.
How do you restore public confidence? How do you restore public confidence? Given that there are people out there today seeing those wads of cash, whether they are real, whether they are fake notes, all of that will be the subject of investigation. How do you restore public confidence?
I think a large part of it, Rajdeep, to be honest, and if you can take it with the greatest candor that I am mentioning this, has to come from the side of the media. I think the media, and I'm not including you among that, but you do know all the media that I'm referring to when I say this, that if you have evening talk shows where in the most strident tones people scream at each other about how the judiciary has fallen, about how all judges are under question marks, then I think there's a big role that is being played, which is causing a damage to the judiciary. So some part of that restoration has to come from there. Another part of the restoration has to, of course, come internally from within the judiciary. I agree that we need to have some sort of system that inspires some sort of confidence. And like Orgio mentioned, both the earlier structure, which has to be in place for their accountability, as well as something similar to the NJAC structure, would be ideal ways of sending that message out. However, I believe some of these bodies should be manned by more than, say, 15 or 18 people. So you keep it as broad-based as possible with representatives from across civil society with a selection process which can properly be scrutinized. I think those kind of steps would send the right message out.
Colin Gonzalez, how do you restore public confidence in the judiciary?
I can tell you, when I joined the profession, the cases of the poor were center stage. Dalit cases, tribal eviction from forest, slum dweller demolition cases, workers' cases, environmental law, they were center stage. Public interest litigation, good public interest litigation was center stage. But with time, all that changed. And today, what's priority number one? None of the cases of the poor are priority number one. They are at the bottom of the list of priorities if you go to the registrar. What is top priority? Commercial cases, insolvency cases, arbitration cases. Chief Justices dealing with arbitration cases from morning to afternoon. Where are the cases on human rights? Where are the cases of the poor? So the Dalits are fed up. They've gone out of the legal system. The poor have gone out. Slum dwellers have no hope in the Supreme Court. The working class has got no hope. Environmentalists have stopped litigating because your court is not interested in cases regarding the masses of India.
Give me the solution.
You will never get that. The solution, Rajdeep, is for the judges, and society will come to such a crisis level that society will communicate to judges. We don't have faith in you. We loved you once upon a time. We respected you once upon a time. Now we have lost faith in you. In fact, it's even worse. We dislike you because you are part of our oppression. When
Okay,
that
those
comes
are-
up in society by some kind of uprising of people, that's when the judges will realize they must change their attitude. It's a ship at sea
that is not
without
going
a
to be
rudder.
easy. That won't be easy given that there are entrenched interests. If you're saying that a large group of people feel angered and out of the system, Satyapal Jain, as someone who's an insider, how do you restore public faith in the judiciary?
I have to make 3 points. Number one, let's not find out a remedy which is worse than even the disease. Two, the need for judicial reforms is now getting wider and wider. All agree, you may have one view or the other, that time has come for thinking the judicial reforms more seriously, including the working of the courts. Third, internal mechanism within the judiciary where they can check up all such incidents should be effectively strengthened and effectively implemented. Fourth, last point, those who are working honestly, sincerely, with commitment, judges, should be given all protection. Nobody should be allowed to raise finger against them simply because you have lost your case there or they are not entertaining you. At the same time, black sheep, like the present one, strict possible action should be taken against them so that it gives a signal to the other such people also, and people
Right.
all people come to know that look here, jo karega so bharega, tu kyun bhayo udas, action will be taken against them, those who are found guilty.
Okay, you're saying visible action against those who are found guilty is a way to restore confidence. Justice Banerjee, how does one restore confidence in the judiciary? How does one ensure greater accountability?
One, the declaration of assets should be mandatory. Two, and I've always believed this, a good judge may not be a good manager. The efficiency level has to be raised. And there should be a judicial management system and a judicial audit system which will look into the assets and report to a kind of a structured body which is in place to look into the allegations after sifting through the grievances. Secondly, our disciplinary bodies, judges come from the bar. Judges are lawyers first. Why have we destroyed these bodies which control professionals? Our Bar Council of India is completely politicized. Our Chartered Accountants Body, Medical Council, these have been robbed of their legitimacy. If you had proper disciplinary bodies, then fixers and those who get fixed can be controlled by these bodies. At least the fixers can be controlled.
No, so you are saying there are
Thirdly-
fixers. Justice Banerjee, you believe there are fixers out there, right?
Of course there are. Of course there are. Let's not hide behind all this. There are fixers and there are people who get fixed. And most importantly, I'm very happy with what the blooded additional solicitor said, that, we must look beyond party. His sagacity is speaking. We must look beyond party. It's a system that we are talking about. We can't have, immediate interests or party interests in mind. The system has to be given a degree of respectability and legitimacy so that it is acceptable. The faith has eroded a bit, but still the people look up at the judiciary as the last resort. Your profession, Rajdeep, that requires also to be corrected, as we do.
That is another
Democracy-
debate.
dem-
The
democracy-
debate on the
democracy
no,
depends
debate on the media.
all of those-
The debate on the media is another debate. I will get you on that since you were also a former journalist. I can tell people long before Justice Banerjee became a judge, a lawyer and a judge. He worked in the Telegraph in the 1980s. But I want to bring Orgo Sengupta to conclude this. Orgo, you've heard various viewpoints. Is there a magic bullet out there to restore public confidence in the judiciary? We've talked about potential fixers, and we don't know whether those fixers will also get arrested. It's one thing targeting the judge. What about all these fixers who are out there across many courtrooms? Given all of that, your final word, what will it take according to you?
I think the Supreme Court has always been good historically in turning challenges into opportunities. Even when it was faced with the emergency and its lowest ebb, it turned it around with the spate of public interest litigations that it took up. So I hope that the Supreme Court plays this on the front foot and takes this challenge and makes it an opportunity in the following way. Number one is the biggest problem that erodes public confidence in the judiciary is not actually what we are discussing, but is actually pendency. Their cases don't get heard unless you're a rich litigant. So the fact is that the Supreme Court needs to make administration efficient. It needs to professionalize it. Both the Supreme Court as well as the High Courts should think of getting professional CEOs instead of appointing district judges as registrars. It's unfair to those district judges to appoint them as managers of an institution. It requires a professional CEO, number one. Number two is that we need to think about a judicial, and I'm summarizing the views of broadly what I've heard here. We need to think about some version of a judicial appointments and an accountability commission, which is broad-based, bipartisan, and maintains judicial primacy. This will ensure that appointments happen in a transparent manner, and also complaints, and many complaints will be frivolous, are dealt with effectively and fairly, so that every time there is a situation of this nature, we are not again left scrambling with an in-house procedure and FIRs being filed and so on. I think both the judiciary and the government need to both think about this, not in terms of us versus them, but need to think about this as institutions of government that are meant to serve we the people.
You know, those are fine words. Gopal, you want 30 seconds quickly?
Much shorter than that. In the last 10 years, one of the finest judges that the High Courts have ever had, and who didn't come to the Supreme Court for reasons best known to others, is sitting on your panel, Justice Banerjee. We longed for him to come to the Supreme Court. That did not happen, unfortunately. But by far, I think one of the finest candidates we ever had in the country. I was fortunate to appear before him in the Madras High Court. Outstanding.
He, in fact, was transferred from the Madras High Court and sent to Meghalaya, presumably because he had spoken out in a manner that people in the establishment did not like. Given all of that, Justice Banerjee, let me give you the final word. Do you live in hope that things will get better, or do you think things will get worse before they get better? Will things get worse before they get better?
I live in hope. We have some brilliant people as judges in this country, even at the highest level. I live in hope we can bring about create a body which will be a permanent body, like several others have suggested. And I am always hopeful that we'll see more accountability, not only in terms of integrity, but accountability in terms of output, which is equally important.
Right. Well, there's another debate to be had on judicial delays and administration of justice and all the other critical issues that affect our judiciary. But that it's taken an incident, a shocking incident like this, of those images coming of wads of notes at a judge's house for us to debate this, is perhaps a reflection on the state of the media that debates Hindu-Muslim issues night after night on primetime television, but doesn't debate the real issues that confront our institutions in a democracy. Let's remain hopeful. Umeed pe duniya kayam hai, as they say, and let's hope that this incident triggers a wider debate on how to ensure judicial accountability and restore public confidence in the highest judiciary of the country.